Allô, est-ce que vous m'écoutez là?
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, we're happy that you can be here. Right. So, good morning to everyone. We can now start this eMag, and while the other participants are joining us. So the eMag will be translated in English because everyone will be speaking in French right now. So if you speak English, you can click on the globe icon at the bottom of your screen and select the language.
Please click on the globe icon on the bottom right of your screen and select your language. Donc, bonjour et bienvenue pour cette
eMag. So good afternoon, sorry, and welcome on this eMag, which was dedicated to the topic of training and teaching about climate change in Africa. So I would like to invite you to join us on Jimbo, and I will share this with you in the chat so that we can do a little assessment and so that you can have a look at the table of contents, the program of this seminar. You can click on the link. So today we will talk about education to climate change and the environment in general. So this is a very cross-cutting topic, which is extremely important for the systemic transformation of our company, of our societies in order to fight against climate change. As we have seen the latest report from the IPCC, we will see how the non-state actors can mobilize the public, and we will focus on education, particularly on the African continent. And to give you more context, we will have a little overview of all these different topics, and I will tell you the objectives that were established by the coalition to fight against climate change, from climate change. So first of all, the environmental education of the populations. Secondly, reinforcing the capacities of the communities and educators. Thirdly, the continuous training of decision makers and representatives, and then training representatives in technical aspects, and then the mobilization and the involvement of the actors in local and national media, and wider use of virtual capacities. And the sixth priority is to look at financing problems and try to solve the financing issues. So I will now like to share with you the table, the program, the agenda for today. So the assessment page. And while we're waiting, I will also talk to you about the main speakers from today. We have our partner from Afrik 21, Jean-Marie Takouleu, our editor-in-chief, whom you met during the last eMag, who will talk to us about the place of the media in the information and the education of populations to climate change and its effects in Africa. Then we will have Berthe Adjagboni-Tehou, who is responsible for the development in the territory mission of Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, Togo, and Aide and Action International, which is one of the organizations which is co-steering the education and training coalition with climate change. We'll present the ACT Africa project, and then there will be Pierre Chaillan, who is the head of the Pole Europe and international relations missions in the city of Marseille. And then we will have a good practice session, and we will welcome Stella Noumi, who's responsible of the operational hub for development and research for AKEWA Accelerator. And then we will have Elina Lukpoul, who is managing the task force of Lex Climatica, who will mention the Lex Climatica project of training about climate change for professionals and the events to come this summer. And then we will have a time for questions and assessment. Eva will moderate this time. So I wish you a very good session. And before we look at all the different projects in the field, we will mention a very important question, which is the question of information and media. So Jean-Marie, as an editor-in-chief of Afrik 21, media specialized in sustainable development, I would like to ask you, what is the role of the media in the education to the different challenges around sustainable development? And more specifically, how does Afrik 21 contribute to this mission of information? So thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chloe. So sorry, I wanted to apologize because I could not connect myself on the computer. So now I'm connecting from my phone, from my smartphone. So thank you very much for giving me the floor. So I think the media have a decisive role for education on climate change. Because if you look at what is happening everywhere in Africa, you will see that some people, some players consider that climate change is a concept. If you look at what is happening in Africa, in the Sahel region, for instance, where this phenomenon is happening with the drought, which is also a phenomenon we have in Eastern Africa and Southern Africa. It is a very serious phenomenon. So faced with this situation, the media have a very decisive role to play, first of all, in covering the news, because they really tell us what is happening in the field, and they also get the local communities to be heard, the communities that are that are affected by climate change in the different countries in the Horn of Africa, in Kenya, etc. And then the journalists and the media in general have a role as whistleblowers, because it is clear that in our work, there are alerts. For example, with regards to the World Food Program or the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN that alerts about the threat in Eastern Africa regarding the threat of famine following 4 years of drought in Eastern Africa. So you will understand that if the media do not alert the public opinion, both national and international public opinion, on certain situations that are taking place in Africa with regards to climate change, we will have a lot of difficulties to measure what is really taking place. So in the face of climate change, the other role, which is really important from the media, consists in raising awareness. It's very important. Raising awareness without being complacent, but raising awareness on what is happening in the field while remaining with a professional attitude. Sorry, I'm a bit lost in my notes. I will find where I am. So they participate in raising awareness among the public with regards to the realities that are noticed in the field. And at Afrik 21, we don't spend our time dwelling on the issues. We are, first of all, a solution-oriented program and media. So we try to talk about solutions. It's not very easy because at the journalist schools, you're supposed that you're being told that journalists are only interested in actually trains that arrive late, but this means in the current situation that this is a very unprecedented situation of drought in Africa. So we focus more on solutions, solutions with regards to adaptation and resilience. This is our trademark. This is our reason for existence at Afrik 21. We really want to put to the front these topics of agricultural solutions with regards to climate change or any other type of solutions that are, for resilience. So our main editorial line is focused on this and participates to raising awareness on climate change. Thank you very much, Jean-Marie. It was very interesting. Yes, I know at climate change, there are also trainings for journalists because it is very interesting. We need to train journalists to these issues. So it's really important to have media like Afrik 21 really involved in these issues. So now I would like to talk more about the projects and the different experiences in the field with Berthe, who will talk to us about a recent project for Aide and Action, which is an international organization for development. And I really like their slogan, which is education changes the world. So you see that you are starting to really put environment at the center of projects. So Berthe, I think you will be able to present to us what is happening with the ACTA project, what it is about. Yes, thank you very much and good evening to all of you. As Chloe mentioned, we will share with you an ongoing project, which is a very recent project, which is called Action for the Citizenship by and for all the children through education in Africa. So ACT Afrik. And the role of education as an accelerator of sustainable development. So this project is currently taking place in 4 countries in Western Africa: Benin, Burkina Faso, Senegal, and Togo. So we received a thread from the organizers, but we will talk mostly about 2 main concerns. First of all, there will be an overall presentation of our projects, and secondly, we will talk about the role of education in the fight against climate change. With regards to the first concern, the first main area of focus. So this is a recent project that started in September 2021, and it aims at promoting the rights of children and young people and support them as stakeholders and players that are involved in the protection of the environment in our countries. So if you have looked at the title of the project, this really puts to the front the main project holders, and the overall objective is to contribute to a better access to rights by reinforcing the power of action of children and young people as players for change with regards to sustainability, social consistency, and sustainable development. As a direct target, we have the children from the public schools, from the 6 to 15-year-old age group, from 50 schools. So it means 37,881 school children and 820 teachers that will be involved. With regards to youth associations, then we target young people from the age of 15 to the age of 35 years old, with a challenge to target about 100 youth associations. As indirect targets, we have the office of the associations of parents of school children. We have the local councils. We have the decentralized services from the state, so education, water and forest service department, and the youth department, also the Ministry for Families and Women. There are also the communities, the NGOs, whatever their status. We have the associations with the representatives from neighborhoods, we have teachers, we have the youth councils, and as the topics that we develop, we have citizenship, living well together, and sustainable development. I think Chloe mentioned it as well. Citizenship is a very broad topic, but we have taken the option of keeping to the topic that gathers us today. So climate change, everything that relates to respect, protection of the environment. So we want to stick to these topics. So on my left, you have an image with the school governments. These are established in the different countries of intervention, but they're not established. They're actually part of a normal process of elections. So it depends on the country, but it is done in a very harmonious way. So within all of these school governments that are established by the children, we have a minister for the environment. So on my right, we are here in Togo. You have the inspector for primary schools who has come here to launch the different activities that were launched within this project. So with regards to the methodological approach, well, I want to focus more on innovations here. So the innovation, when you look at this approach, this is a change-targeted approach, a change-oriented approach, which means that the direct targets are at the heart of the implementation. So before we write the project, these targets that the young people, the school children, the teachers are listened to. There is a quick diagnosis. And then when we get the funds and when they start the project, we have institutional reforms, changes, new elements from a contextual point of view in order to make sure that we can stabilize the situation. So we chose this option, and around the environmental topics, we agree with the main targets, the main stakeholders about problem solving. And we want to support them to identify all of the issues. This is done target by target, well, population by population, because of course the difficulties are not the same when you talk to women or to children or to teachers. So we were able to have to look at a diagnosis for the protection of environment that looks at the practices and their consequences. So the young people have questions about safety. So they mentioned there are several types of insecurity. There is unemployment. There is the fact that we don't control the seasons, and today it is very hot. We don't know when it will be raining. We don't know when we can harvest. So there are lots of losses in the agricultural field. So we have put all of this into perspective, and we have found solutions with them. So before we get to this next step, we help them formulate a vision from a dream. We have a common dream, and we rely on them to define the progress of change through the tools that we have already experimented with. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Berthe. Maybe you can conclude. We don't have a lot of time. Maybe you can talk to us about the role of education in all of this. Well, the role of education relates to education of young people, and with regards to the topics, the emerging topics, the consequences of deforestation, in terms of the approaches going forward, and planting the seeds, the importance of citizen actions, and respecting rights through spaces, through youth spaces. So in terms of activities, as I've already shared with you, I will share with you this slide. What you need to understand the communal ecosystem for youth and education. You have the role of each and every one of them. So the municipality makes sure that that all of this takes place within the budget of the municipality, and it provides support to the young people so that environmental issues are put to the front. Then we have a support to the young people, youth council, association of civil society or others to support. You have the youth platform, and so the association of civil society. We have two challenges. So before we start the projects, we realized that there was a challenge, which is to increase the participation of women and the emergence of youth female associations, and to invest in formal exchange spaces for exchanges, discussions, and sharing between teachers to take into account these issues and these topics in the school curricula. So the idea is to have a direct impact on the children at an individual level. Thank you very much, Berthe. What is really interesting in your intervention is the role of the municipality, which you have underlined. And now we will give the floor to the city of Marseille that will give us an example of a decentralized cooperation model. So Pierre, I would like you to ask you the question, how was such a project set up? Can you tell us a bit more about the context of all this? Thank you, Chloe. Good afternoon, everyone. I will just take a few minutes to introduce a small project, because the number of young people that are involved is not a lot. This is a project that was initiated by the city of Marseille in 2016 that aims at promoting the circulation of young people, the mobility of young people in countries and cities with which we have relationships, the Mediterranean basin as a whole, but not only. There are other regions in Asia and Europe as well. This was a scheme set up in 2016, which enabled 250 young people to take part in these mobility programs. So it enables us to really make these exchanges more dynamic. The exchanges we have with different cities, and we have cultural, social, educational projects or other types of projects. So there were about 100 young people from France, from Marseille, that went abroad, and about 50 young people, foreign young people, who participated in this scheme. So, you know, generally these schemes are more state-sponsored schemes. The regions subsidize as well also these schemes. The cities a little bit less. This is a way to get young people to travel, especially the young people who are not parts of a training program, who don't have this ability to travel. So on both sides, whether these are French people or foreign young people, they have less opportunities that are offered to them. This is a volunteer scheme. It is done on a voluntary basis. This is not an obligation. And on the African continent, we don't have many mobility programs because we didn't have much time to discuss with other municipalities. We have a very strong relationships with Abidjan and a historic link with Abidjan. Most of the mobilities for the countries of the south were done towards the countries in Northern Africa, the Maghreb region mostly. So we have this willingness to deploy these mobility programs more with Africa, the French-speaking African region, because of our strong links and the strong relations between Marseille. You know, Marseille is a city with a lot of immigration, a lot of different communities, like the communities from the Comores Islands. So we want to do more later. How do we finance this? Well, we'll finance this with the Ministry for Foreign Affairs in France and with the budget from the city of Marseille, which is around, we are promoting 60,000 euros of budget for promotions of 30 to 40 young people. So 60,000 euros is not enough. We do a call for tender, public call for tender. We trust this mission to follow up on these mobility programs for young people, and the organizations have to complement this scheme with other schemes, such as the Erasmus Plus scheme. So the impact of projects like our project, where we actually shape some ambassadors in the different countries. These young people who have done this mobility program, they generally find a job after, or they then take part in different associations. So it is a real bonus to really they take part in volunteering, in solidarity programs, in international solidarity programs. So it's a great bonus. It's a great benefit for us. So this is a scheme with only 150 young people over 4 years' time. So it's a small scheme. Maybe we could do more than that. Sometimes the funding is limited, but we need to think about it further, and we will still continue to reflect on this and try to give some framework around these mobility programs and talk about big challenges like climate change when we try to explain to a mayor and their team that we have a flagship program and will rely on this program for this mobility program, of course we can send the young people abroad, but it is better for them to understand that they're going on a mission. Then there will be a follow-up, and this mission will be beneficial to the city where they will go. The city of Marseille applied and was shortlisted for a call for tender for the 100 cities that are climate neutral, that will be climate neutral by 2050. I don't know if we will reach that objective, but we were shortlisted in this call that aims at changing everything in order to tackle all of the issues and most of all the causes of climate change. And we try to have these mobility programs included in this objective, because our aim is to achieve the ecological transition for all the Marseille people in the territory without excluding everyone. We have strong relationships with the countries of the Global South. We want to reinforce the collaborations and concrete projects with the African continent in general. So we're going to try to set it up as a green vehicle that will enable us to mobilize any external funds and financing around this scheme. We have also a lot of local stakeholders, local associations, and would like to work more on questions of global citizenship and the question of education on environmental issues. We have 500 schools in Marseille and tens of thousands of school children. So we have a high responsibility, a big responsibility with regards to that. So this is what I wanted to say. I'm very happy to be here and discuss with you today. Thank you very much. It was very clear. It was very interesting to see how a city can be part of these efforts and can take part of these mobility programs for young people. So now I would like to give the floor. We will have a presentation of a project. We will do a mapping of the different actions. You will see the link in the chat. This is a project with the Gabon stakeholders, which is a project dedicated to children, which is focused on environmental education. So you will be able to present your project. Thank you very much, Chloe. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stella AKEWA. I'm Stella Noumi. I'm in charge of the operational pole for development and research at AKEWA Accelerator, and I'm very happy to present to you our project for education to sustainable development, climate change, and eco-citizen gestures and actions in a school environment. It's the EDUC project. Can you share your screen? I have sent you the document. So I was asked to present our organization, AKEWA Accelerator, to present our project, and I need to describe the initiative, describe the objectives of the projects, the expected results, the activities that are planned within this project, the difficulties we have met, and the partners that have supported us for the first edition of the project. So who are we? We are AKEWA Accelerator. This is a non-governmental organization. Is that okay, Chloe? The next slide, please. So who are we? So we were created in 2013. We're an NGO, and we aim at supporting entrepreneurship and social innovation, not only in Gabon, but also in Africa in general. AKEWA Accelerator, we're now present in 7 African countries, such as Togo, Gabon, Cameroon, the DRC, the Ivory Coast, and Senegal. And we are a resource and training center dedicated to training and specialized in 5 key fields. So you think that an incubator supports project holders in maybe one sector, but we're actually focusing on 5 different fields because a study was done in Gabon. This study revealed that in the next 15, 20, or 30 years, the sectors where you will have the jobs will be the green business, the agribusiness, digital sector, and renewable energy, and the cultural and creative industries. So now we have decided to specialize on these 5 key areas. So our mission is to promote innovative entrepreneurship. It is maybe not innovative for others, but for us, the culture that we had when we finish the school, we need to be civil servants to get a salary to live off our work. But we want to promote entrepreneurship. So young people are, 59% of the Gabon population are young people. So we want to support these young people. Our aim is to promote social innovation and to say that for those people who want to innovate in a given sector, for example, selling clothes, or so that they don't feel to be less useful than somebody who has decided to invest in new technologies, for example. So the next slide. So why did we decide to implement this educational project to climate change and sustainable development? So first of all, we need to look at the context. So now the world is facing a challenge, which is climate change, and all the countries are involved. And we know that every year there is a big meeting, the conference of parties, where the climate question is at the heart of all the discussions. All the stakeholders are represented, young people, local communities are all there. And among the countries that take part in these conferences each year, there is Gabon, and Gabon has become involved in environmental protection. It is not recent. We participated in the 1912 conference at the Rio Earth Summit. 1994, we participated in the creation of the Council for Climate, and then we elaborated a national plan for climate. 2013, we adopted a law promoting sustainable development. In 2014, and Gabon was the first African country that shared their commitments for the reduction of the greenhouse emissions during the COP21 in Paris in 2015. So preserving the environment is a question of public health. If the environment is in good health, then of course human beings will be healthy as well. So this is something that is not represented in the school curricula for now. The climate question is not very well known in Gabon. Not many young people know about climate change. even among university students. So to come back to the climate question and the environmental question, this is not very widespread. It's not very well known in Gabon. So we thought it was very important to involve young people in the fight against climate change and in the fight for the protection of the environment. And we know that this goes through the promotion of the objectives for sustainable development. We have an objective around education, another sustainable development goal around fight against climate change, etc.
Elina, mais vous pouvez peut-être parler un peu des activités du projet et des financements. Stella, je suis désolée.
We will now need to give the floor to Elina. Right, we had only 9 minutes. It's very quick. So what is the overall objective? As you can see it here, it is to raise awareness of school children or young people on sustainable development, the effects of climate change and eco-citizen actions in order to encourage them to take action for the protection of the environment. So what did we do? First of all, we wanted to initiate young people to climate change and citizen actions. So getting to teaching them about climate change, teaching them about sustainable development, and telling them that they can contribute to the preservation of the environment through some actions that they take at home. And the second type of objective is to get them involved in planting trees within their schools. That was the second activity. And the third activity is we wanted to leave a small organization within the establishment so that they can continue what we have done for the past activities. So this was just some activities in relation to climate change and long-lasting change. The third activity was to also involve young people in the manufacturing of objects like dustbins, trash cans, thanks to recycled materials. So we send them to manufacture bins. And then the last activity was the organization of a competition for recycled objects. We took young people through their creativity, through different objects. We got them to create objects around a framework. So this they were rewarded with a prize, with an award. So these are the activities. We can maybe talk about the impacts now, Chloe, if you enable me to do that. So the first activity, we had about 60 young people, 16 school children that were initiated to the topics of climate change, and citizen actions. We involved also 5 members from the board of directors of this school. The second activity, we planted 30 trees within the school. And the third activity, we implemented a bureau, an office of the club with 15 members. So 15 people joined this club dedicated to the extension of our activities within this school. And then the young people also manufactured 10 bins with recycled materials. And the last activity, we have about 30 objects that were made of recycled materials that were created and manufactured. So this, we can present what was the school and the partners. So this was the first edition of our programs, the FD project that supported us. That was the main funder. We had the Ministry for Education that coordinated everything. We had the high school of Michele, where the project was set up, and we had the support of the African Alliance for Climate Justice in Gabon, the PACSA in Gabon, which is an environmental NGO very focused on sustainable development and which supported us with all of these activities. So this is, in summary, the synthesis of our project. Thank you very much, Stella. Yes, indeed, education to sustainable development is very important from an early age, from the school years. So this is also something we will see with Elia, because that's what the African Academy decided to do with, maybe you can talk to us more in detail about that, Elina. Can you hear me, Chloe? Can you hear me well? Right, so very quickly, so we can stay with our schedule. So my name is Elina Lukbul. I'm a consultant for sustainable development. I have a volunteer engagement commitment with Lex Climatica. As Chloe said, Lex Climatica was born from an academy, an African academy. So what is the goal of Lex Climatica? So overall, it is to create a campus for training and exchanging knowledge on climate justice. So climate justice, Lex for justice, so, and Climatica for climate. So we started with this concept that the climate change was initially related to social justice, particularly in Africa, because the African continent has suffered from the impacts, the effects of climate change. So we are in a dynamic where most of the Western countries create climate change, they create the emissions, and other areas are suffering from the effects of these emissions with different impacts like droughts, the increase in water levels, the droughts and shortages and agricultural problems, and this creates social inequities. So we want to establish a relationship between climate change and social justice. Therefore, we end up with a process of environmental justice. So Lex Climatica is a project. We try to share a lot of knowledge about climate justice, and we have African youth, what we call the African youth. This can be young entrepreneurs, students, young farmers. The age group is quite wide, between 15 and 35 years old. And what is happening concretely is that every 6 months, we have 3 days of training, and they will really be focused on issues of climate justice. So in our association, during these 3 days, we try to schedule many different speakers that will speak about various topics. And I will show you very briefly the type of topics we have, we talk about during this 3-day training program. So this is our association. I will share the links later. Here you have a topic about the vulnerability towards climate change with gender inequity, the inequalities between men and women with regards to climate change. Some people are more victims. What can we do in terms of climate vulnerability? We'll have a first roundtable with several speakers about a right to healthy food as a means of adapting to climate change. We'll have the societal mutations, the multiple challenges faced with climate change, and we'll have another example of conferences. We'll have all the nationally determined contributions and what are the commitments with regards to the countries in terms of adaptation and climate targets. This will be part of a regional framework or continental framework for climate action. And we have also collective intelligence workshops. This is a major aspect of Lex Climatica. We will try to see how, with all of the participants from the training, what we can implement for each and every one of them at the climate level. So, for example, a year ago, the objective of this school was to write an advocacy plan, an advocacy document to present to the stakeholders, the international stakeholders of the climate, what the African youth thinks about the climate commitments at the regional level, what was observed. So the different issues, armed conflicts, climate effects, climate impact, etc., and what African youth is asking from the international community in order to fight against the impacts of climate change. So this was done during these collective intelligence workshops, and it was mixed between roundtables, conferences, and workshops. We will imagine a common goal, and this time it was to write an advocacy document on climate change. So how is it done concretely? What you can do now is that we had two schools, two trainings programs, one last September, which lasted for 3 days, another one in March, which lasted also 3 days. The next training program will be also in September, 26th, 27th, and 28th of September. Everyone is welcome to join. If you live, whether you live in Africa or not, whatever your profile, your origin and your environment, your social background, whether you are a student or a professional, we welcome everyone. This is a training that lasts for from 10 o'clock to 5 p.m. to be quite flexible, to adapt to the different time zones, which is a virtual training program. We will send you the Zoom link before the conference, and I would like to suggest you send us an email. I will share my email address via the Zoom chat, and there is the website that we're now starting to create. We have a web page, we have a Facebook page as well, and you can also see what we can do in more detail. So if you want to attend the training in September, you can write to us an email and a small application letter to be considered if you're a student in a school. So I can give you more information in the chat. Please don't hesitate to contact us, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to talk during this eMag program. Thank you very much. It was great to see what you are doing, and what I take back from it is that there is this education aspect, this awareness aspect, and the idea is to support the commitments which comes back to citizenship, global citizenship with regards to the environment. So it was very interesting. Now I would like to give the floor to Eva for the conclusion of this eMag. We're nearly on time now. That's great, but thank you very much, Chloe. Thank you very much for participating in today's eMag. Thank you to all the panelists that did some great presentations. We had a great presentation as well on the different stakeholders from climate change, so NGOs, cities, different stakeholders and different players. So thank you very much for your participation. I'm sorry we are such a tight schedule. I would have loved to take your questions and to have a little bit of discussions. And thank you very much for all of you who have taken the time to write about your initiatives and who have shared this information in the chat. This eMag is always a bit difficult because we want to share the information for the different sectors that we deal with within climate change. In the coalition, the African coalition, we would like to have some interaction moments, but please don't hesitate to write to us and to maybe ask your questions to the panelists or to ourselves if you have any. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you about one climate change event that will be happening in the next few months. It will be the next African Summit of Climate Change from the 4th to the 6th of October in Dakar. So we will organize meeting times, workshop times, plenary sessions, and sessions that will be dedicated to specific topics like access to funding, the role of gender in accessing funding, in climate issues, etc. I would like to really mention it to you because this week we have saved the date to really urge you and encourage you to attend this conference in Dakar in October 2022. We have also launched a call for contributions. So you will hear more about the campaign from next week. There will be a call for contributions to receive your good practices and all the good actions that you implement in the field. All of you, the stakeholders of eMag, all you local players. And it will be for questions related to sustainable development, education, cities, issues in cities, and rural areas. So we would like to know more about what is happening concretely in the field and to give you a voice, to give you a place for you to voice all your initiatives with different participants from all over the world. So please don't hesitate to have a look at our website. This will be the Climate Chance Summit, which will take place within the Sustainable Development Week. And we organize it with another association and the CETUD, which is our local partner, a Senegal association. So we focus this year on mobility, and we will talk also about other flagship projects for the African coalition. We've been working on this since 2018. Please look at the website. Please look at the call for contributions. If you have any projects you want to submit and you would like to value for this summit, there is the program which is online. We are working on it right now, and you can submit your proposals if you want to take part in this program. And we have a call for registrations as well that has been launched since the beginning of the week. So please don't hesitate to write to us if you have any questions or suggestions or proposals for this program. We have already some flagship projects that have been identified. So thank you very Chloe for moderating the eMag. Thank you to all the panelists, and thank you to all the participants who stayed until the end. It's great to see you're not fed up of these virtual meetings. It was a pleasure. It will be a pleasure to meet you in person in Dakar to really discuss about this further and to be in a more favorable context for strengthening our actions for the climate. Please don't hesitate if you have any questions, suggestions, or proposals. We're here for you, at your disposal. And I would like to invite you for the next eMag on the 9th of June, which will deal with agriculture. The next eMag, you will be invited to participate as well. So see you soon. Thank you very much. And thank you to the interpreter as well. Thank you. See you soon.
Merci beaucoup.